3 ponies munching away on 1 bale of hay, and you can see that it's collapsed down. It's slowly been collapsing itself down. There actually is still half a bale on there, so the feeding is about right. There is some hay or straw here, so they pulled it through and decided not to eat it and just let it sit on there. Around the outside of this thing, it's very tidy, and when they finish off probably the inside, they'll pick up a little bit of scraps on the outside here. So it is folding over, and this basically is just the proof of concept for controlled feeding through this mesh. So it is pretty hard, very durable. So you can see there is a tiny bit of little wear on it, but this fencing material is very, very durable. But we might be able to make something different. It's very safe for horses too. It's been designed with horses in mind. So anyways, this is a start, version 2 of this. And the hay, if you can see through here, is actually laying down. So I didn't put it on edge, so they're pulling through the grain, or yeah, pulling it up. They're kind of doing it sideways now. But what they usually do is step on it, and then their teeth can get through, or their lips can pull through. It kind of helps it collapse. On the third version, or the prototype made out of material, the material will collapse. It'll be like bungees sewn into it, and that will provide the... There's Starbuck eating away. So this is 3 ponies munching away here. There they go. Yeah. So that's about the same amount if they're out there in the field. Right, Starbuck? How are you doing? So what I've done is I've built a box same size as a standard bale of hay, and this is a frame to fit the square bale buddy over it. I've taken one of the old bale buddies and I'm just gluing the edges, and I'm gonna make a rough prototype of it. So this is kind of version 3 of the square bale buddy. Anyways, I'll update you more in a minute. So version 3. So this is prototype version 3. Basically we have an area here that opens up, and if this was the bale of hay, you'd stand it on end, pull this over the bale of hay, and then once it's down to the ground, you push the bale of hay down, and then pull this flap out, which is on the inside here, and that stops the horses from eating the hay through this hole here. This has got to be a little bit tighter, and there's got to be 4 bungee cords like this here, same type. So as they eat the hay down, it kind of contracts and forces the hay through the mesh, so they don't have to step on it. We might even need one here across or something like this just to contract the end down. But this is basically it here. I built a frame. I built this over the frame, and I'm going to go and test it later with a bale of hay. But this thing can ship in your existing round bale things here. It'll fit in one of these. You just fold it in half and roll it, and there you go. You have a square bale buddy that fits in the round bale buddy thing, and it's control feeding. So putting a bale in here will probably allow a horse to last 2 days. So if you're given 4 flakes a day, that usually takes up a bale at the end of 2 days. So you don't have to feed them in the morning, afternoon, and in the evening. Feed them once, put the bale in here, put it in the stall, or put it out in the pasture. And if there's 3 or 4 horses, you just put 3 or 4 of these out there, and each horse will eat off of each one. And they can't get their feet caught, there's nothing sharp. And it's natural grazing. They're grazing all day long. Their temperament should be a lot better instead of that feast or famine that happens when they get fed once, twice, or 3 times a day. So it's more natural feeding. It's controlled feeding. They can only pull out a certain amount. If they're going 24 hours a day, they can only eat so much through this thing. That's it for now. Thanks. So if this frame was a bale of hay, you just pull it over, push the hay onto the ground, and tug it over, or just lift it up and pull it. That's kind of what it looked like filled. There's a flap here, right here, that will kind of stop them from eating through there. And if the strings are still on it, you can carry it quite easily. And if you cut the strings off, it'll expand out a bit. So it might be a little bit more trickier to carry it. You might have to carry it, I don't know how it'll work, but if they're going to carry it, I would put the strings on, reach through, snip the strings, pull them out, put that, and then it's ready to go. Okay. Okay, so we put it over, we pull it down. Just pull it down there, and then you flop the bale over like that. You pull this around, and then you reach down and pull the flap to stop them from eating from this end through. And that's basically it there. That is a square bale body. And if I had some fingers, there's still a string on it. So this is how you carry it. And that's it. As a prototype, that kind of works. Then you just cut the string off, and away you go.
Yeah, look like a submarine.
Okay, turn it. So when we're traveling in the trailer and in the stables and the stalls, we have these bags here, and the horses just kind of feed out of the hole there. So on the bale buddy, we can just turn the mesh to the wall, and we can use these rubber bungees here to actually hold it. We can actually remove this whole area, put this right up against the wall in the trailer, and while they're traveling they can eat right off the top by just pushing back that flap. And then when we put it in their stall, we can just put the flap down for controlled eating, and there you go. Or we could just put that right against the wall and have them just grazing gently out of that while they're traveling. So it serves a couple more purposes than just a controlled hay feeder. So what got me interested in auto feeding or controlled feeding is we're in a location where the people who are supposed to be feeding the horses weren't doing it reliably. So I bought a auto grain feeder here, and it spits out 12 times a day, and it goes down, it pops out of the floor here of the trailer. So basically we have a solar cell on the top of the roof there, which feeds a battery in the tack box, which then powers the auto feeders. So if I press, it's frozen, but I don't know, it should work. Yeah, there it goes. It comes out of the bottom of the floor. 12 times a day they get a little handful of grain. Right now it's corn. But I still needed to give them something cheaper. pelletized alfalfa just didn't do it. It's too expensive. So hay really is cheap. So that got me thinking about some sort of auto hay feeder or controlled feeding of hay. And that's how I came about. That is version 1, and then version 3 is in the trailer. So I have one on either side, and the grain in here, they could pretty well live off the grain if they wanted to, but it's good for 4 days. I do it 12 times a day. In the morning they get about a pound, and in the evening, the last feed, they get about a pound, but then they get a whole bunch of small feeds during the day. I've noticed that feeding them a whole bunch of little meals calms them down. It seems to work. Keeping it more natural is always a good thing. So now that we have the hay feeder, I put 2 of these out, and I now have hay for 4 days for the ponies, and I can cut back on the grain. And I need 2 of them anyways, because I put one on this side and one on this side of the trailer. So we need the bungees put in 4 locations to kind of tighten this bag up a bit. So if we had 4 strips around, I think it would do it similar to what is here. And I think that is the ticket. So another thing I've done for auto watering is I have a leveler here. This is a heated bucket. It's 140 watts. I have a garden hose with the heat tape in it. It goes up to here. And this is one of those non-freezing water spouts. The problem is that if you leave it open, it will freeze the pipe. So then I wrap this with insulation and put a heat tape down into the ground, down about 3-4 feet. So this pipe's heated, this is heated, the bucket is heated, so everything here for fresh continuous water is less than 200 watts drain, where most big black buckets and the heater is 1500 watts. When they drink this, they drink it about half empty, and it fills up again, so they get fresh water. To clean this, all you got to do is dump a little bit out, and now it's done. Let's walk down the water right. Fresh water, non-freezing, and the whole thing costs about $200 to do. $7. That's $20. You can see the price tag. Heat tape, $40 each. Hose, $9 each. And that's it. I never have to worry about water. I never have to worry about feeding them for 4 days. And now with the hay feeder, it'll be good for, I'll probably extend it even to 5, 6, 7 days. I could probably almost go a week without worrying about feeding the horse. And there it goes. It just shuts off the water. It's fresh water. I got a little salt block up here. Put a little lid on it just because the water was kind of dripping down on it, as you can see there. But anyway, so they got salt, fresh water, green, 12 times a day, hay all day long. They are happy, happy ponies. Okay, turn it off. So here they are eating out of Square Pants Bale Buddy. No, not Square Pants Bale Buddy, it's Square Bale Buddy. And I still have the rope on that, so it's really tight for them. But you can see they're just nibbling, they're not gorging. So they can nibble all day and they'll get their allotted amount of hay. This has many applications for competition in the stalls. If you have 5, 6 horses out in the paddock, you can just put 1 per horse. There's no fighting over them because they'll have their own bales. At the end, just roll up the things, shake out what's left over in it, and throw in a new one. So people who don't want to worry about regular feeding or competition people, this really is so simple. And they like it. And again, with the bungees going around the bottom, that mesh will be held a little tighter to the hay, so they actually don't have to push it down to get at the hay. And this is very fine second cut bale. Another thing they could do is they could put a piece of 2x4 in the bottom of it if they're on a field that's really windy, so when it gets empty it might blow around the field. So a piece of 2x4 or 4x4 at the bottom would stop it from blowing around. Well, these guys approve. And if you can keep tiny ponies happy, he's trying to open her up at the back there. Trying to nibble on it. There he goes. Yeah, we need the bungees, elastics, to actually pull that mesh. See the gap between the hay and there? That's about the only improvement this thing needs. And this is basically just glued together, so I'll send you off this prototype, and it's pretty well ready for production. The only other thing we have to do is just more R&D on the size of the gaps, like the mesh size versus the volume of how long a bale will last. So there'll be like a 3x3 square might allow them to eat, you know, a bale a day, where a 2x2 would be half a bale, and a 1x1 might be quarter bale. That's just something that we have to kind of research. But right now, this would be about half a bale a day, is what one pony or one horse could actually pull out of it. So I still got more research to do on this, but this is a good start here. Then we can just refine it.